The woman saw her dog sitting with her husband every night. She thought it was sweet. It wasn't sweet. It was a medical surveillance she didn't know she needed. For 9 months after their second child was born, their 4-year-old Labrador Gracie had established a new nighttime routine. She sat beside Marc every evening when he settled on the couch after the children were in bed. Not on the couch. Beside it, pressed against his right leg, face turned up toward his face. His wife, Lena Adeyemi, came home from evening work shifts 3 times a week. Every time she arrived, Gracie was in this position. She had started calling it Marc's shadow. Marc had not noticed. He read, he watched television. He existed in the evenings and Gracie was there. He assumed she had always been there. Dogs find their people. He was her person. On a Tuesday in February, Lena came home at 10:30 and found Gracie at Marc's leg pressing harder than usual. Not frantic. She was looking at Marc's face with the specific quality of attention that Lena recognized after 9 months of observation as different from the usual evening presence. She said, "Marc, how do you feel?" He said, "Fine, maybe a little off." I didn't want to say anything. She said, "Off how?" He said, "Tired. More than usual. Little pressure here." He put his hand on his chest. She called the emergency line. His cardiac enzymes at the hospital came back elevated. He was having a slow myocardial event, what a cardiologist later described as a silent heart attack, the kind that presents without classic chest pain, particularly in men who are fit and attribute symptoms to fatigue. Subscribe now before the next number, because what the cardiologist said about 9 months of Gracie's evening positioning and what he asked Marc specifically about the weeks leading up to February changed what Lena understood about the previous 9 months entirely. The cardiologist, Dr. Nwosu, said, "What you're describing in the dog, sustained evening proximity oriented to the chest side specifically, sitting rather than lying, is consistent with behavioral response to cardiac chemical changes. In the period leading up to a myocardial event, inflammatory markers, stress hormones, and changes in perspiration and breath chemistry can produce a detectable scent profile change." He said, 9 months suggests this was not a sudden event. The cardiac deterioration was likely gradual. The dog was responding to a gradual change she was detecting every evening. He asked, "Did her behavior change intensity recently?" Lena said this week it was different. Harder pressing. He said the acute event would have produced a significant chemical spike on top of the chronic pattern she had been reading for months. She escalated when the chemistry escalated. Marc recovered. He is on a cardiac management program. He is 43, healthy by normal external measures, fit, no prior history. Gracie still sits at his right leg in the evenings. The cardiologist has asked Lena to report if the intensity changes. Has your dog developed a consistent proximity pattern with a specific family member that turned out to correspond with something medical? Tell us in the comments. Every guardian deserves to be recognized, even the ones who never asked for anything in return. If stories like this matter to you, subscribe so you never miss the next one. Lena thinks about 9 months of calling it Marc's shadow. She thinks about arriving home 3 nights a week and seeing Gracie exactly where Gracie always was and thinking, sweet. She thinks about Tuesday in February. She thinks, the dog knew for 9 months. She was telling me every time I walked in the door. I called it sweet because I didn't have another word for it. She has another word for it now. Next, the husky who began waking 20 minutes before the toddler's cry, and what that 20 minutes means, according to the sleep specialist who heard about it.